Hello, YouTubers, friends, compatriots, bootlickers, shells, desolators, peasants, vassals, minions, meat sacks, Djiboutis. I'm your useful idiot. Welcome. And let's go to China via Djibouti in Africa. And it turns out China is now building its first overseas base for the People's Liberation Army in Djibouti. And it's fascinating for a couple of reasons. One, of course, is the fact that it's China's very first overseas military base, although China wants to call it a support facility and is avoiding calling it a military base. But it is a military base, and in fact, numbers that are thrown around in these articles suggest there's going to be 10,000 Chinese troops at this base. But the other thing that's interesting about it is that France, the United States, and even Japan already have military bases in Djibouti. And it's a very small country, but has a certain amount of poverty. I think 900,000 people, something like that. But it's on the northern part of Africa, the northeastern side of Africa, and facing Yemen and Saudi Arabia across the water from them. And it's no surprise that China would be involved there because they've been involved there for a long time. Like a lot of places in the world, especially Africa, in the last 10 or 20 years, they made a lot of investments in Djibouti. $16 million in Chinese investments in infrastructure since 2000, building hospitals and government buildings. But more importantly, they have a huge project building a $4 billion railway linking Djibouti with Ethiopia. They have a number of other large projects going on, but this base they're setting up is going to have a 10-year lease, and they're going to pay $100 million a year to have that base there. So no wonder Djibouti is loading up with all these military bases from 4 different countries for that kind of money. A great way to sustain their economy. But China says that for the most part they're interested in having some convenience for fighting piracy, humanitarian, and relief efforts. And I'm sure that's mostly true because China's overseas investments are spread quite wide now, and they need also to be able to guide and escort a lot of shipping. So anyway, I think the thing that strikes me as amusing about this one is it's pretty interesting that China would have its first overseas base, particularly because I've mentioned in a number of videos that how many pundits seem to feel threatened by China when the United States has a vast empire and 1,000 bases spread across the globe, and now China has one. So China has one base and 999 more to go. But I don't want to downplay the fact that it will be interesting to have more Chinese presence on an international scale. They do have nuclear submarines that have been operating in the Indian Ocean, and they could very well end up at this port as well. But pretty dramatic development in its own right, especially because if you're afraid of China, here they go, starting their own global empire. I'm a useful idiot. Don't you be one too?